Philippines is actually quite an interesting, when you think about it, study. Kasi we have such good landmark laws. No? You have the Magna Carta of Putin, you also have the Anti-Bawsi Law, you have the Safe Spaces Act. So you have all these na kinaiingitan ng karamihan ng mga bansa, especially around Asia and the ASEAN. Pero actually, makikita ko rin that violence against women continues to be persistent. Makikita mo rin na in terms of political representation, wala tayong masyado mga babae in higher positions, no? Especially in the last 10 years, right? Si Marby Gilles, currently ako yung director dito sa UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies. Yung history ng center, no? Isang grupo ng mga babae na faculty here in UP na pinush nila na magkaroon ng center to be able to contribute to research on women kasi acknowledge na may kakulangan, no, pagdating sa research sa mga kababaihan during that time. Actually, because of the center, yung training, yung advocacy, yung gender awareness na kinakalat, dumami rin. And this is not just through UP and the CWGS, but concerted efforts of women's organizations nationwide, as well as, of course, the Philippine Commission on Women. Lumakas na rin ang ating advancements that we have in terms of gender equality. Sa gender gap index worldwide kasi nasa 25th tayo out of 130 plus. Pero meron pa rin persistent na mga just recently, di ba? Itong mga lumalagas about government officials objectifying women and women's bodies, no? To prove a point, iba yung justification nila doon. So may ganun pa rin. And meron bang na hold accountable so far? Wala, di ba? Pero under the Magna Carta of Putin, dapat held accountable yan. Under the Safe Spaces Act, dapat held accountable.
So ako po si Rafaela Potestades, Co-Executive Director for Programs. In BAYI, what we usually do is we directly focus on the political participation of women. So yung ensuring that the environment is enabling and then capacitating them as well to meet the demand for transformative leaders. Sa pagkakalam natin, no, less than a quarter of our elected officials are women, which is problematic kasi sa usapin ng polisiya, programa, serbisyo, ano bang mga pangangailangan ang nandudoon at ano yung mga naratibo na makakakuha ng gano'n na mga perceptions. Siyempre yung kababaihan na may lived experience din nun. So a clear example of that is the lack of transformative feminist leadership that showed during the pandemic na naisantabi yung pangangailangan ng kababaihan na buntis, nangangailangan ng reproductive need, tumaas ang gender-based violence. So that is the gap when it comes to politics that affects the everyday situation of women in marginalized sectors. Kaya nabuo yung BAYI, no, kasi gusto niya ma-fill into yung gap na to na not just women leaders but transformative feminist leaders, and it was heavily inspired in the US called Emily Liz.
Hello, nasa QC Mais tayo ngayon, no, in partnership with the Quezon City Local Government Unit and the Gender Development Office. Nagko-conduct tayo ng Summit on Transport, Mobility, and Safety for Women. And BAYI is partnering and facilitating right now the creative workshops, no, in identifying the vision for women in terms of mobility and transportation.
Kadalasan, nilalapitan yung center kasi kumakalat lang yung work that we do, no? So kunyari mga LG, lapit sa amin, ang sasabihin nila, meron kami gusto malaman, so can help us out, no?
malaking tulong talaga yung center kasi may institutional support siya na ino-offer. Kasi if there's one thing you know about the development landscape is they're willing to fund the activity but they're not willing to fund that much of the people that does it. Kaya kung makikita mo yung landscape ng NGO workers, walang social protection, limited yung work-life balance kasi ganun talaga yung espasyo na ginagalawan nila, and that needs to also change.
Only about 20% of local chief executives across the Philippines are women. In Congress, women hold just about a third.
Ako po si Lizel Lectura. Kasalukuyan ako nagtatrabaho sa Human Resource Development Office dito sa UP Diliman.
One of the fellows that we really partnered with is Lizel Lectura, and si Lizel was part of the Angat BAYI Women's Empowerment Leadership Program for civil servants.
Yung opportunity na to, nakita ko na marami pala kami na mga naghahangad, nag-a-aspire na kailangan mapalakas yung kagalingan, serbisyo at pagbubuo ng paghihikayat doon sa mga kababaihan at mga vulnerableng sektor na magkaroon ng boses. Nakatulong sa akin yon, yung mga transformative leadership, feminist principles and processes. So isinabuhay talaga natin yon para makapag-organisa ng mga vulnerableng sektor na yon. Yung involvement ko sa Red Dot Foundation, itinap din siya ng BAYI. Kinuha niya akong volunteer project manager para madali kang maka-influence dahil yung karanasan ng tao, mas madali siyang makapag-ugnay sa ibang tao. So nag-start ako sa family ko to introduce ano yung Safe City app.
So Safe City is an application that gathers gender-based violence instances. So citizen reporting siya. And then hopefully that data will be fed into the local government so they can fix that particular problem at that particular area.
Lumabas yung datos, nakuha yung first run. So dun nga namin nakita na sa ganitong area, merong catcalling. I remember may mga may mga construction na ginagawa. So nung na-report natin ito sa barangay, at ang ginawa nilang intervention, nakipag-usap doon sa mga construction worker at binigyan sila ng orientation din about gender-based violence. Then sa community, yun na, sunod-sunod na. So from that data, pre-process siya, nagkaroon ng mga capacity building on gender-based violence. Ang maganda pa palang na influence dito, yung mga training programs ngayon ng barangay, nag-level up na. Yung mga training programs and interventions na nila, like yung how to write yung mga legal form, kung may mga ganitong cases, paano mo i-handle.
So, ganun yung ginawa. And nag-advocacy kami talaga dito. So, every 18-day campaign sa BAYI, nagkakaroon kami ng mga mini advocacy activities with Quezon City LGU. So, last year, we had a caravan and motorcade.
So ngayon nasa loob kami ng UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies. Nagmi-meeting kami sa conference room on our module on male allyship and masculinities. So ngayon yung board of directors namin, si Ma'am Natsi Africa Verceles, nag-share siya on her research on feminist masculinity. What does it look like? How is it defined? Because it will feed into how do we develop our male allies when it comes to political empowerment?
I think important rin to talk about empowerment and women's contributions and for them to be appreciated because kailangan rin ng kalalakihan na sumusuporta sa babae. Hindi sustainable na kababaihan lang yung nagpa-fight for their rights.
Na talagang magdidig-deep kami sa transformative feminist leadership na hindi lang yung elected officials. Kasi sinasabi din ng elected officials, hindi lang naman isang tao ang kaya magbago ng sistema. So ngayon, we are also seeking to organize men allies that are in elected positions. We're also seeking to capacitate department heads ng local government and PLGUs, or provincial local governments natin. So it's an ecosystem approach na everyone in their own space and time and resistance can also be a transformative feminist leader.
Buong puso po ako nagpapasalamat sa BAYI Inc., sa bumubuo po nito, lalo na dun sa program ng AB Wealth. Because of that training programs na experience natin, also the support that you provided for us, talagang buhay na buhay yung inclusive development, yung pag-address ng women empowerment dun sa ating program. Maraming salamat po.
The least that we can do is to ensure that the environment is enabling for women elected officials or those that want to run for office. So we do not discourage, no, we empower them kasi madami nagsasabi ang hirap ng mundo, corrupt ang politics, madumi. So we make it in the way that we can for it to be enabling, no? We become watchdogs, we become a supportive community, nag-o-offer tayo ng tulong sa house-to-house campaigning in the small ways that we can because right now, more than ever, we need feminist values in leadership.